Hey everyone, and welcome to the Tatter Effect podcast, where PMU gets real, raw, and unapologetic. I'm Teryn Darling with Girls Inc., your no bullshit mentor with 25 years in the game. So together, let's raise the bar and let's keep it there. So as promised, this is part 2 with the amazing Alex from the UK. Alex, welcome back.
Hi.
We had you on the last episode. And if, listeners, if you haven't gone and listened to part 1 with Alex, then stop right now. Don't go any further with this episode. Go back and listen to part 1, because this is part 2. And we did a part 1, part 2, because we just had a lot to talk about. You and I are kindred spirits, to where we seek the truth and the why behind things. We challenge things, and we stand up and we speak our truth. And we talked all about that. And I think we talked about some really important things on the last episode. So I would like for all the listeners to go listen to that first if they haven't already, and then come jump on this one. And this one could be a little bit more exciting because you and I both started new medications, not the same medication. You're on a medication brand new to you, and so you're feeling a little, and I started a brand new medication and I'm feeling a little. So we're like, wow, what's going to come out of our mouths today?
Erin, thank you so much for having me again. I am truly honored to just be invited, yet alone to 2 episodes, because I truly value you. Like, the whole industry really, really, really appreciates you, and to be on this podcast is a dream come true.
Well, thank you. Those are really kind words, and they mean a lot to me, especially coming from someone like you. And I wanted you on because there's not a lot of people, Alex, that have the courage to stand up and speak truth, stay authentic to what they believe, and speak the truth, because they're afraid of the consequences. And I understand that. It's not that I'm not sympathetic to someone being nervous about consequences, because there are people in our industry that could apply some consequences. But you're one of them, and there's a few more, and I've certainly have had them on my podcast as well. So I like having artists, kindred spirits on that are speaking out for the right reasons, not to make more money or sell their classes or sell their products, but they're speaking out because they care about the craft. They care about the craft, and they care about the artist. So that is you.
I totally agree. But can we discuss a little bit about how much is too much? Because I think during COVID, that was a stepping stone for the permanent makeup industry worldwide, because we had so much time, free time on our hands. And what do we do with it? We're on social media and the internet every day, and we start noticing people. That's when I started becoming more popular, because I started being more visible.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'd always done this from the beginning of my journey. I always shared free information. I always helped elevate and educate my audience. But all of a sudden, everybody had so much time, so they started noticing me more and more. And I even got questions saying, Alex, where have you been in all this time? And I was like, I was always here, but everyone was busy. But then you have the artists that notice that brings popularity. It brings, it started becoming a trend.
Yeah.
And now there's so many people speak, but it's almost as if they want to share any information, no matter how useful or unuseful it is. And then you have beginners that have started 2, 3, 4 years ago that do not have our experience to read between the lines and do not see through the bullshit, and they don't know where to listen anymore because
Right.
there's so much conflicting information as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important for people to, if you listen to anything, even to this podcast, to any artist, to any podcast, to any recorded webinar, anything really on social media, you need to learn to read between the lines and only cherry pick what seems reasonable and what seems like it's not just for the fame and the popularity.
Yeah, there's that old saying, if it seems too good to be true, then it's not. And it's not just our industry, that has this issue. It's all industries. It's the world. It's news. It's everywhere you look. Yes, fake news. It's everywhere you turn. And, it's always been in permanent makeup, even 25 years ago when I was a baby and there was no social media. I mean, a lot of people can't even imagine life without Facebook, social media, Instagram, but there was a whole world and a life without any of that. When I came into permanent makeup, there was only 2 websites. The internet had launched, but there were only 2 websites in all of permanent makeup. And I was like
it's long ago.
Yeah, it was so long ago. It was so long ago. But the world, but even back then when we were more isolated, I think on the last episode I told you, when I came into permanent makeup all those years ago, I had no idea there were artists in permanent makeup in other countries, including Canada. I just thought permanent makeup was a United States thing because the world was not connected. And I really wasn't a world traveler back then. I didn't have no money. I never left the United States. I had no idea. You really thought, this is just in the United States. And then I started going to some conventions. And they would have speakers come over from Canada. One speaker in particular, Val Glover, would come over from Australia. And I went, oh my God, there's permanent makeup in all these other countries. Yeah. So, but now we're inundated, with social media, truth, lies, all kinds of things for the new artists to sift through and discover on their own what is real, what is not, what is beneficial for me, what is harmful for me, what's going to help with my long-term healed results, what's not. And that has got to be a very difficult task, I would imagine, in today's world, maybe much more difficult than it was when I came on board.
Because you didn't have that many options, and now there's almost too many options.
Too many.
People portray permanent makeup and this career as a money-making opportunity. Drop everything, go for this incredible lifestyle where we all have so much freedom and so many liberties, and we make shit tons of money, and we don't care about the repercussions. We only care about having a glitz and glamorous life.
Mm-hmm.
But there's almost too much information. Then they come into the industry and they find out that, well, actually, my training was barely scratching the surface. And they get overwhelmed with everyone that shouts. And there's a lot of people that shout louder and louder now because they want to be heard through the noise. There's a lot of noise where people just share a lot of information, but not necessarily always useful. Or the noise of do it my way because my way is the best way.
Yeah.
Now you come from a tattooing background. Is there one way of doing things in permanent makeup?
No, absolutely not. And that's always been my, my story, part of, what I stand by, part of what I've always put out there. There's not just one way to do brows, eyeliner, lip, anything that we do in permanent makeup. There's not just one way in body tattooing. And I think the difference between body tattooing industry, because I had one foot, I used to be very, very involved in body tattooing. And I was at a body tattoo shop several times, actually at night. I would do my permanent makeup procedures during the day. And then I would go to the tattoo shop at night and do all my, body tattoos at night. I used to take walk-ins and whatnot. And I think the big difference for me that I saw and witnessed for a very long time was in body tattooing, they respected the different ways of doing things. If you have an artist, like my mentor, Eddie Lynn, he was a black and gray artist. He did mostly black and gray work, and he was really obsessed and did a lot of biomechanical. So I remember him really buying books and really studying the work, the tattoo work of Guy Aitchison, because he was probably the father of biomechanical black and gray work. And it's a science. I was really, really, really mind blown when I saw Eddie had a book and reading it. And there's a science on biomechanical, drawing it, and where you put all the different gray hues and tones and the black tones.
Yes.
And Eddie made his own black and gray washes. Like maybe seven, there wasn't black and gray wash already manufactured to buy. So Eddie had to make his own. I learned how to make my own. That's how I learned how to make washes out of my eyebrow colors. Just taking Eddie's formula, for his black and applying it to my eyebrow colors. So it's very scientific. And and Eddie used big old needles. The bigger the mag, the better. But so here you have Eddie, black and white, big mags, biomechanical portraits as well. He was a realism artist. But in his shop was an artist that did, color. Bright, neon, contrasting color.
Totally different.
Yeah. And they were always in each other's room, just admiring each other. And, and so I saw that in body tattooing. And you go to the body tattoo conferences and you see the admiration for all the different styles. But in PMU, what I was seeing is not admiration and respect for the different types of needles we can use, the different types of hand movements, the different types of styles. I wasn't seeing admiration and respect. I was seeing disrespect and, that way's wrong, my way's right. And I never really understood that, especially us being women. I always thought, women really should support women. People should support people in general, but women have had it tough. Let's face it. We're still fighting for equal pay and in a lot of industries and and things. So yeah, I just never really understood it, Alex.
As much as we'd like to think that women stand for women and we all support each other, I think that is it's an ideology. I have worked in my previous career in a mostly dominated female environment, and it was hard. It was catty. It was jealousy. It was envy. It was biting your ass when you're not looking and all of that. And I think in permanent makeup, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with women because it's female dominated, I think it's just become a popularity contest because you asked the question, I think at one point about, is it a popular, should permanent makeup be under beauty or should it be under tattooing?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tattoo. It's definitely a tattoo by definition. Why are we under beauty as a category or as a subcategory? It's because we beautify and embellish the face. probably? Or is it because a lot of people that came into permanent makeup came from a beauty background because it was the next step forward, let's say, or connected to what they were doing? And we have the same situation in the UK as well, where a lot of people just, take a step forward from beauty, from doing facials or brow tinting or brow shaping and all of that into permanent makeup to make extra income, I suppose. But they don't see it as it should be. A body tattooist, and I truly appreciate that about them and their industry, their part of the industry, is that they not only respect each other. Sure, there will be some slagging here and there. Sure, there will be, they're quite direct to each other.
Very,
swearing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have a moral compass because they understand it's a tattoo and it's forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a good friend who's in body tattooing. He's a manufacturer, and he's been a big part of body tattoo. He's a very, if I told you who he was, everybody knows his products. And we've become very good friends over the last 15 years. And he was telling me like last year how permanent makeup, you can just go online and learn or watch a YouTube video and learn, and and that has been a big problem for the permanent makeup industry. Well, where body tattooing was never really like that, he said it has become that. Body tattoo artists used to shame the PMU industry for 3-day classes, online classes, quick studies, right? But there's some body tattoo artists who have figured out there can be a lot of money in that. So now there are body tattoo online courses. There's quick classes. So what has been a big problem in permanent makeup probably since inception, since inception, is now becoming a big problem in body tattooing. So I thought that was very interesting.
Then it's a human nature flaw, because we are chasing the quick bucks.
Yes.
And as long as you'll have in permanent makeup those artists that sell the glitz and the glam, the fabulous lifestyle, the champagne at the end of the class, and the flower bouquets and the Bentleys and all of that, as long as you have that promoting 6-7 figures or whatever they do,
right,
it will never end, I suppose. With all the regulations possible, I don't think it will ever end. It's a human nature flaw. So we carry then the burden of speaking loud, being heard, doing podcasts like this that educate our audience.
Yeah. Even with all the the BS we see out there and everything that you just said, it does strike me. I have to stop for a minute. It strikes me like, even if you're new and you've never been in permanent makeup, just watch a video of tattooing an eyebrow or an eyeliner. I mean, that person really thinks it's easy. They're really going to believe all the BS. Oh, I can just pick up a machine and a needle in 2 days, tattoo someone's eyebrow. I mean, do you see what I mean? I know they're being scammed. I know the new artists coming in, a lot of them are being scammed. Let's just put it out there. They're being scammed.
It's
but
a scam.
Yes, but I feel bad for them. I am on their side, right? Because there's the person scamming, and then there's the person being scammed, right? So I think accountability lies in both corners, right? Just like being scammed, like with a bank. Like, here in the U.S., there's a big problem with scammers, and they fish, and they send you these texts to click here and click here. Like, your Instagram account might be in danger and hacked. Click here to change your password. So there's that kind of scam. So yeah, the scammers, they should be caught, and they should be, those kind of scammers, put in jail. But then there's the person that actually clicks on the link with all the information out there, warning them. Okay? So I do hold them accountable as well. But who's more accountable? Is it equal accountability, Alex, in your opinion? Or is accountability more heavily assigned to the scammer?
To the scammer, in my opinion.
I
and
agree.
I'll tell you what.
I agree with you.
Yes. Here, we have so in America, a lot of people are quite outspoken. They, if they've had something done wrong or they went to a bad course, they're not going to shy from calling out people or making a public post or something. And we see this all the time. Whereas in this part of the world, in the UK, what we see is people are not necessarily afraid of repercussions, but it's in their culture to not do a negative review or a negative post, or, oh, no, I can't do that because I can't deal with conflict.
Right.
And we have really big names that have been carried over years. We call them the dinosaurs. And not in the sense that they are old school, because perhaps they have updated their ways of tattooing and so on, but they are very big names. The type of brands that say, as seen in Cosmopolitan, or as seen in that newspaper, or that news channel, which, by the way, you pay for to have an editorial in a magazine or something like that. So it's paid for, but they fall for those. And they pay thousands of pounds and realize at the end of it, they not only get that 2 or 3 days course, which unfortunately is the industry standard, but they get absolutely no support after.
Mm-hmm.
I also teach, regrettably, 2 to 3 day courses, or 5 days or 6 days if they learn the whole shebang. I'm not necessarily happy or proud with that, but whenever I've tried to push for more days, people aren't willing to pay for more days.
Right.
So then I compensate with unlimited support after. I give them pre-study. I call them back if they want to do more models for free. I don't charge them. If you feel like you're doing 2 or 3 models and it really hasn't stuck with you, then come back and do another one if you have that option. I do my best, but unfortunately, with many of these courses, you go there, you pay, and then it's goodbye forever.
Yeah.
They completely ignore you after. And with your experience, shit gets hard when going gets tough when shit hits the fan or something like that.
Yeah. The tough, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Something like that.
I reinvented it.
Yeah, well, it's like I've seen. I think it was at its worst a few years ago, because you would have these big names do a 2-day class and sell 2 or 3 or 400 seats, and
wow, that was more like a seminar.
Yes, yeah. And, and a lot of the people attending, weren't vetted. They could have never done permanent makeup ever before. That was going on a few years ago. I haven't seen, and then COVID hit. And COVID stopped those types of, let's not call them trainings, seminars or exhibitions. I kind of call it an exhibition.
Popularity.
Yeah, COVID kind of stopped those exhibitions dead in their tracks. And then training kind of mellowed out and died down for a while. And that's when you saw online training really become very popular.
Really?
Yeah. So now I think hopefully the industry is settling in a place where it's a combination of good fundamental training first, and hopefully that trainer, like yourself, unlimited support after the training, and then combining that with good, solid online training, especially theory, theory courses like pigmentology, skin, needles, machines, hand movements. Those are kind of the courses that I really focused on my academy, to be very versatile, to include all hand movements, all needles, all skin types, no brand names, just pure versatile fundamentals that encompasses everything. That's what I wanted to focus on. So hopefully you see a marrying of both for PMU going forward.
I think it's definitely improved. I started 11 years ago, and I think it's definitely improved. Even the fundamental training that people get nowadays, I look at newcomers, newbies, 2 to 3 years in the industry, and they are amazingly talented.
Yes.
Really, really good. And it's part because they are entering the industry at a time when there is so much more better training out there, better educators. If they are lucky enough to find the good ones amongst the noise and the advertisements and the marketing BS. I think another thing that's important is that our industry has shifted, because it used to be all areas at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And now we have, over the years, we have noticed that beginners find that overwhelming and they really just focus on one area. So now we do teach more one area, and it is important to start with one thing and then maybe add more when you feel a little bit more confident, like lips and eyes. I would definitely do that a little bit later to browse. But how do we get them, and especially those that have never been in the industry or connected to the industry? So, for example, microblading is still a really big buzzword. I see questions all the time on Facebook, on social media. Can anyone recommend a good microblading trainer or educator? But it is, to some degree, a little bit fading out, in my opinion.
I actually have a microblader coming on the podcast later today. Yeah, I haven't had a microblader on. She's excellent. She's really talented. Yeah, she's really talented. Her name's Brittany. She's out of Calgary, I believe. Right, Olivia? Calgary, Canada. And very skilled, very talented, teaches a very in-depth, long microblading course. And I haven't had a microblader on in quite some time. So I saw her in Miami, and we started talking about microblading, and she brought up some things and that need to be talked about to clarify regarding microblading. So I'm really excited for that to come on and have that conversation. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Hear both sides of I'm an ex-microblader. I did microblading for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it because it's part of my journey. I just regret doing so much of it.
Yeah.
Because I started seeing the repercussions, and then they were there. I couldn't take it back.
I tried it. I did about 4 or 5 eyebrows. Because I had to try it, right? I mean, this is years ago. I think when Daria Chupras was probably the number 1 microblader in the United States. And she became a good friend. So, and we had her at Shades and So I kind of learned from her, and I had to do it. So I did not like it, Alex. I did not like it. I didn't like the crunching of the skin, the noise. It was too long. Took me too long. It was too tedious. It just wasn't my thing. I had a machine in my hand for so many years. And what's that?
You were used to having a machine.
I was just used to having a machine, and my muscle memory, my movement was just so like ingrained in me, and it was and I think we said on the last podcast, don't fix what ain't broke. you know, my long-term healed results are really, really good. And,
Yes.
and so I just stay with, not that I still won't try new things just for fun, because I want to. They're interesting to me. I want to see how it works. I want to feel it in my hand. I want to do it. But I always end up going back to my formula, my setup, because it's what works. It's what I know what works for me. It's what I can rely on. It's what I can count on. It's predictable for me and my clients.
And that's not wrong. And you gave it a try. Some of us not only gave it a try, but carried on with it, because you see, hair strokes with a machine are quite difficult and challenging to master. And all of a sudden, I became really good at hair strokes with a blade.
Yeah.
It was really fast for me. I became really good really fast, so fast that at that point, a certain global academy, really famous, who put microblading on the map, asked me to become a UK, they call it master.
Yeah. I don't think we can
educate-
use that word anymore.
No, it's such a silly word. But anyway,
Well, yeah, it is. When someone refers to me as like Master Teryn, yeah, it's so uncomfortable. It's
I
like,
know.
you know,
It's just strange, dear.
yeah,
Yes, but when they offered me that opportunity, it was right at the right time of me starting to see the returns,
right.
the yearly top-ups, you know, clients coming back, having it done at least a couple of times already, and not badly, because obviously, as I said, I had become really good really fast, and I did not agree with it anymore. But that's a completely different discussion, and obviously you can do that in a different podcast,
Yeah,
with maybe
yeah.
someone else. But
I think that's why, you know, I ended up having a respect for the good microbladers, because there were good and bad, of course, during that you know, influx, that explosion of microblading. Just like anything, there were some really skilled, really good microbladers, and then there were some really bad ones doing, you know, a lot of damage. And because I had done a few eyebrows, I found it very difficult. Boy, you need to be talented at this. I mean, this is hard. So I ended up having a lot of respect for the artists that really dialed in on their microblading. The results were good. They, you know, and they started talking about the skin and
yes.
you know, keeping the skin healthy and putting good education out there.
But what's interesting is that many of them, if you really pay attention, have done the shift.
They shifted, because
yeah,
they shifted. I think many of them now, even Daria, you know, I mean, she shifted too, because I think they kind of figured out on some skin types. I'm not sure if it's all skin types. I'm not a experienced microblader. Yeah, I'm not an experienced microblader, so I'm not sure. But definitely on some skin types, you can only microblade 2, 3, 4 times, and then you just can't anymore. You know, you're getting scar tissue. So
I would argue and say once, but
once.
That's just
yeah, and you might be right. You microbladed a lot longer than me. And and microbladers kind of debate that, right? Within the microblading community, they debate it. So
it's very popular now to do the one pass technique, where they just scratch the skin very lightly and then they let the ink soak, and there you go. But then it kind of defeats the purpose, because there's very little ink or pigment per se going into those little tiny superficial cuts, and then the client can't see very well, and then it fades really fast. So what's the whole point? And that's what takes us back to trends,
right,
that we briefly touched on in the last episode, and we wanted to talk more about in this episode, because there's so many trends out there. Some of them are good, but some of them are not that good.
Not that good. How do you feel about the trend that took place? I see it's changing, but it was single needle hair strokes with machine. And how small of a needle can I use, to the point where they were using not just 0.20s and 0.18s, but they were using smaller than that, acupuncture needles. And when you would look at an eyebrow, the first thing I would say when I would see it done with those thin strokes, you could barely see the strokes, is that is not going to last. There is hardly no pigment in those strokes. That is not going to last. That is not going to last. However, I had to bring on 0.20 needles onto my store because that's what everybody was asking for. That's what people wanted. But now I see the needles getting back up to 0.25s, 0.30s. I even see our 0.35s. And
I'm a flat girl. I'm a flat girl.
You're a flat girl. So you're seeing the bigger diameter needles come back.
Oh, yes, baby. And I'm loving it.
So everything comes full circle, right? Everything always comes full circle.
Yes. I don't think it's wrong doing hair strokes with a single needle every time if you want to invest all that time. I do think that a lot of skin types are not really the right canvas for a single needle. And I think that artists do not know how to make the difference between what inks am I using now? Is it inorganic? Yeah. Is it iron oxides? Is it a hybrid organic? Is it, does it have large particles? Does it have small particles? They don't understand that larger particles need bigger holes, bigger punctures. So here they are struggling with maybe an iron oxide and a 0.25, and oh my God, it's not going in and the retention is not good. And what am I doing? And I'm constantly failing at hair strokes. I think there's a general lack of knowledge when it comes to needles, inks, and skin types.
Yeah,
100%. The educators, the trainers that say, come to my class, I'll show you my technique. This is the machine I use. This is the needle I use. That's how I do it. Now you do it the same.
Right.
But it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, and there's also you'll see an educator put a post out not to do hair strokes on skin types that have large pores, that are textured, that are ruddy. Don't do hair strokes on there. And then under that post, you'll have an artist say, I do hair strokes on those clients all the time. If you don't want to do them, send them to me. I'll do them. So, it's just back and forth conflicting information. So again, that goes back to the new artists coming into the industry. It's very difficult for them to sift out, who to listen to, what's going to be more beneficial for them and their clients, their type of client that they're working on. Okay, I was going to tell you one more thing before we moved on. I'm following a couple artists that are doing hair strokes with 5 round shaders.
Yes, I know.
What do you think about that? I think it's fascinating.
I think it's fascinating. I think it's wonderful. And I think you really need to manage your clients' expectations as well, because the result will be quite soft.
Yeah.
Looking, perhaps not last as long. And I think artists do not know how to use round shaders. So we need people like you, Teryn, that are so experienced in using round shaders to re-educate the industry on, the Magnum became really popular. Now the flat is becoming very popular. So it's time to readdress the round shaders as well.
Yeah. I don't know.
But hair strokes in general is one of my biggest, let's say, conflictual opinions in the industry because of the whole hyper-realism trend that has surfaced the last couple of years, and especially in 2025. And artists do not know how to separate what is a hair stroke brow and what is hyper-realism. And they class everything under hyper-realism. And clients are now coming in. Even today, I had a client coming in with this buzzword, I want hyper-realism. Yeah. But you don't really understand what that is.
Right.
It is a pattern. Hair strokes is hair strokes. It's a methodology. It's a way of creating a style. The hyperrealism is a pattern, big, bold, fluffy, overlapping hair strokes, add some shading in the mix, and then 1 year later you end up with a soft powder brow, but not a very good one.
Right, yeah, I understand that. You know, hyperrealism also, I think, became an issue with areola work, 3D areola work. They got so hyper realistic, it looked like old skin. You know, I mean, it was just, they looked wrinkly. And I mean, I would look at my areola and Kat's areola, and I've been looking at I'm like, areolas don't look like that, man. They went way too far with the hyperrealism with the areolas, in my opinion. Not every artist, of course. Some artists, kept it, more basic and just added some texture and exactly what was needed to make it look real. And then some artists, I mean, they just really wanted to push the boundaries of hyperrealism with the areolas and the brows as well. But then you're at this place, Alex. I mean, is that what we're supposed to do as artists? Push the boundaries to see what we're capable of, what will age really good, what will not age good? Because there's that side too. And sometimes I wonder, am I too rigid in my thinking? As artists, are we supposed to push the boundaries a little bit? Or are we pushing them too much in some cases? But are we supposed to push them a little bit to see where we can go?
I have always pushed boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were saying, and even in the last episode when we said, I've always said, but why the hell not?
Right.
When there was a certain unspoken rule, thou shalt do this or thou shalt not do that. Like in the case of lasering lip tattoos, I was one of the first ones in the industry to start lasering lips and show the industry that it is totally possible. And I'm happy to say that now a lot of people are trying and doing it because I've shown them that it's possible. So there's an element of that, but we need to do it responsibly. People don't think about the repercussions because there is very little knowledge on pigmentology.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to pigments over time? What are these different mixes that we use? Is it a disregard, a lack of moral compass maybe, that artists don't really care about how their work ages? Or is it the fact that they're so stressed and focused on creating these beautiful results that are Instagrammable,
mm-hmm.
that they don't have time to think about what will happen next?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything you just said. I think it could be any of those things that you said, depending on the person, right? So let's talk about the editing pictures and videos. On Instagram. Yeah, I personally think, look, if you're gonna if your client has a big red throbbing zit on her face, right?
Yes.
I got no problem editing that out. I personally have never edited a picture. If they got a big zit, they got a big zit. If they got a mole with hair coming out of it, well, they got a mole with hair coming out of it. I personally
what I do is I just don't post it.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, you have to post everything. Then.
Yeah, not every picture is not every procedure is postable. But I just never got into the editing thing. It's time consuming. I never really had time, and I just never got into it. And I never allowed any of my artists that worked for Girls Inc. under contract at Girls Inc. to edit. They just weren't allowed.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, not allowed. So I have a really strong opinion about editing. Now, not editing just because I don't edit a big red throbbing zit off a client's face. I do think that's okay. I think that's okay. I have no problem with that kind of Photoshop and that kind of editing. But the level they're editing now, I think it's out of this world. It's dishonest. I think it's dishonest because it's misleading the pub. It's causing two problems. It's messing with the industry. It's messing with the artist's head, and it's messing with potential clients. It's the client's expectations are what they're seeing on Instagram. These highly edited, pictures and videos with certain angles. And so clients come in expecting, that look, and then newer artists learning, they're comparing their work, their in-process work, their journey to what they're seeing on Instagram. And what they're seeing is not reality. It's not reality.
It is fake news. It is makeup around a freshly tattooed area, which is wrong for so many reasons. So many reasons. The cross-contamination is, promise me that you always use a brush that you throw away. You never double dip in concealer. Promise me that you always use a foundation sponge that you throw away, the risks are just too high to count.
Well, what about even if they're doing that, do you have concerns with makeup getting into an open procedure? Do you have concerns with that?
Yes and no. I think that, let's say I still do the same. When I tattoo lips, I put concealer around the shape to highlight the shape, and then I tattoo the outline. I still do it this way, not just because it's not a question of popularity, but I do see it better. And the concealer does help me see the pores and the peach fuzz better. So it's easily distinguishable between, facial skin and lip skin.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, of course, the needle might pass a little bit through concealer here and there because the skin isn't as disinfected or clean anymore. But because of the amount of wiping and cleaning we do during the procedure, and because it's such a superficial wound,
right,
all of that gets cleaned away. I've never in all these years had any infection problem when working like that. I do, however, have an issue with applying makeup or concealer around the freshly tattooed area, for sure. I do have, not just for reasons of course,
for the picture, for the Instagram picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they do the same with healed results, creating this perfectly sharp, clean, defined edge when it doesn't really heal like that unless you really drill it in or you create that super high definition result.
Right.
So you have the issue of the makeup, but you also have the issue of the photo editing. Can I show a photo?
Yes.
How?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, look at that. Look at that.
That is a scam.
That's a scam.
Is fraud.
Yeah.
And it only costs $3.
Well, they show up in your DMs, right? I mean, how many professional photo editors do show up in your DMs? I can photo your pictures for a small price. Let me show you what I can do.
I understand doing the skin effect because a lot of people are selling this whole magazine look now. The flawless, poreless, AI generated photos. But to edit the work from a poorly executed,
isn't that crazy, Olivia?
Bad technique to perfection, that is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Let me show you one more.
That's crazy.
This is from a retoucher's page. The work was not bad, but the shape and the color have been edited to perfection.
Oh, yes.
You can see the Cupid is very different compared to the original work.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And it's sad because this original work is actually really nice.
It is nice. Yeah.
Compared to the previous one I showed you.
But you can see the shape's been edited. You can, Wow. Wow.
And this is what clients expect. And like you said, this is what newbies and artists, even experienced artists are
comparing themselves to. Yes. I hear it all the time. All the time in my coaching and in my DMs.
It's increasing this imposter syndrome that we seem to have in our industry where women and permanent makeup artists don't feel good enough. They don't feel their work is good enough to post. They don't feel they are super highly critical of their work, when really it's a tattoo. Human skin will swell.
Right.
Human skin will bleed. Oh my God, no, bleeding should not exist.
Right.
The tattooing, we're puncturing the skin, and it has capillaries and capillaries and blood vessels, and it's dry and it's gonna bleed and it's angry and it will heal a bit patchy, and it's human skin.
It's yes, yes.
It's not latex.
No, exactly, exactly, and that's I talk about it often on the podcast, and I talk about it often, in my lectures, when I'm at a conference, and it's one of the big topics when you're, at conferences and you're just meeting artists at lunch or in the vendor room. It's probably the biggest topic right now that artists are asking me about. The newer artists, the younger generation is asking me about, is just that, or what they're talking about is they just don't feel their work is worthy, and
Yes.
you just have to keep reminding them, I
So
feel, yeah, I feel like I'm redundant. Like I just keep repeating the same things over and over and over and over. Because eventually more people will hear it and hear it and hear it and believe it and believe it. And then once they come to believe it, and their mindset changes, and now they understand what's been happening to the industry and happening to them because of the highly edited pictures, now they will start talking about it and getting other artists to understand what's being done to them and what's happening in the industry. So we just have to keep this topic alive and keep talking about it and talking about it. So,
or maybe it's time to call out people.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
How do you stop this disease? Because it's becoming a disease. It is now transferring into the world, into
the psyche,
training side, the training side,
the training sites. Yes,
you can buy ready-made permanent makeup manuals for every area that we tattoo on Etsy for like $25, $50, the whole collection. And they are ready-made for you. You don't have to scratch a nail or, nothing. You don't even have to think about creating a manual.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy.
Copycat.
It's crazy. Okay, so we saw a lot of that. I don't know if it's died down or if it's still like an epidemic, but like when I wrote Beyond the Epidermis, my color theory course, yes. It was pink. I felt like must be what it's like to write a novel, right? And I'm into books, and some writers, they have to go away and go into a cabin somewhere, in the woods, or a lake house. They got to go away for 3 months, and they need to be really quiet. Even songwriters, like the lead singer of One Republic, and I was listening to him, and some songwriters, where one of the band members, they write all the songs and lyrics and the music. They have to go away and be in complete silence and have no distractions to write their songs, for these novelists to write their books. And I felt like that. Like I kind of connected with that when I've written any of my courses, but especially Beyond the Epidermis, because it's so complex and layered. It's the overtone, the undertone, it's pigmentology, it's CI numbers, it's saturation levels. Then you have to bring in needles because you're talking hand pressure, hand movements, brow style. It's so layered, it has so many arms that, yeah, I felt, my God, I'm an author. I've become an author. I'm not just and I wrote it from experience and my knowledge, and it was authentically written. And I go in and I update it every few months. I'll go in, I'll add another chapter, or I'll reword something. I'm constantly keeping it updated. But
because we and we get better, and our technique might change because we improve.
Oh, yes, yes. Or you get a question. Someone took beyond the epidermis and they'll ask a question. I'll like, ooh, I need to do it. I need to do a little, I need to do a little segment on that. And, but a lot of
that type of course is still relevant today. And it was phenomenal when I saw it, when I went through it years ago. I don't even remember part of it, but it's ingrained in me. It's part of me, right? And then what you do is you take that knowledge and you put it into practical, you put it into experience and hands-on, and then you start connecting the dots.
Right.
That's how I did research for pigmentology, connected to laser removal as well, and that's how it really opened up my sixth eye, my third eye. Whatever. Because you connect the dots. And when I was working on my pigmentology course and I was speaking to chemists, okay, from a chemistry perspective, because I'm not a chemist, so I don't want to behave like one or say that I am one. It came to me and I realized that if you don't really work with these things, you don't really know what we're talking about. If you don't know our problems, our hustle, our issues and challenges, they just speak purely theoretically. And this is what will happen in permanent makeup when it comes to educating. If people start using the same teaching manuals, copycat and copy pasting from other people, they don't really put their input. So it is very clear that they're in this only for the money, just to make a quick buck.
I was, yes. Well, I was really taken back when I learned those type of manuals, copy and paste manuals, were available for trainers to buy. I didn't know that. And then someone told me and kind of went on a little expedition and discovered there's these ready-made manuals.
And they're good. They look good. They are presentable. They look sexy.
Yes.
But it's someone else's work. The before and afters, not to mention highly edited or probably made with AI because they look so perfect.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think they're made with AI now. They're not made from, the guts and blood, of and heartache and stress and failures and successes of a true PMU artist. Yeah. That gathered all that data and sat down and wrote, from a place of experience, knowledge, theory, skill. And I just couldn't believe it, Alex, that's going on.
Oh, it's still going, baby, and it's getting harder and harder. It's getting more and more popular. People are making posts every day. Oh, I found these manuals on Etsy. They're probably being sponsored to advertise certain materials like this, just in the same way of having like a pro artist, like a brand, but chooses these artists worldwide and they give them this status, right? I am a pro artist. I am part of this big team. And that's really nice of you. But what does it come with? Mm-hmm. Have you signed a contract with the devil? And I was very briefly, for only a few months, part of one of the first pilot pro teams of a certain big name. And initially they said, no, Alex, I promise you will not have to advertise anything that you do not like from our range. Because I clearly said from the beginning, but I don't use these things and I don't like that. Is it okay? I only use those. And they're like, yes, absolutely. And we do not demand exclusivity. Perfect, I thought. It's going to bring me a little bit of marketing, and I'm not really lying to my audience. So win-win. And then 2 months later, the pushing starts. You get targets. You have to advertise that course and this course and that product. Every month we had to advertise a certain product. And then I said, but I don't like that product. And, they would give you targets and then they would give you warnings.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, am I ending up doing more for your business now than I have time to do for my own?
Yeah, yeah. Did you hear that, Olivia?
We have targets. You have to do 6 posts every month and 12 stories every month and this and that, and they were keeping track. And then they were asking for our opinions or maybe developing a certain product, and I was giving them my opinion, but it wasn't factored in because what do I know? I'm just the artist working with that product. So.
Right.
And I drew the line when one of their team told me, when I complained again that I don't really like that specific ink and I don't want to use it, or tell my audience that I'm using it. And they said, Alex, just do what everyone else is doing. Film a 20-second video and then say that you are, and then end of discussion. Then go back to your favorite, whatever you use. And it really opened up my eyes. So I started watching Teryn, and I looked at my fellow peers who were in the same kind of team, and I looked at their videos, and it came to me, hold on a moment. You are mid lip tattooing procedure, and your gloves are squeaky clean, your needle is brand new and squeaky clean, everything looks flawless.
Right.
How is that possible? Because we know it's messy and it can look like a massacre sometimes.
Oh, yes.
How is that possible?
And we're proud of that massacre, right? I mean, look at
Yeah, exactly. Unless it's fake news, baby. You are posting a video of something that you say you're using, but you don't truly believe in it, nor do you actually use it.
Yeah, so many things are staged. So many things.
I was the first one to leave the team. So this brings us to the other question, Terry, because nowadays everyone is saying that this isn't normal.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. And it's normal. It's normal. Yeah, how is that not normal? You're taking a needle and you're breaking open the skin. How is that not normal?
So
they even say it about eyeliner, eyeliner. And I do a lot of brows, but I do a lot of eyeliner. Like eyeliner is just my jam. I don't know why I was good at eyeliner before I became good at brows, but I just did, or naturally, organically. And I just do this classic look. And some eyeliners bleed. It's when I stretch that out, sometimes, like I was just on stage in Miami and doing an eyeliner, and the camera was right there, and I stretched her eyelid. I had a great model, but when I stretched her eyelid, you could see all her capillaries and veins right there on the surface. So I asked my audience, do you see all these capillaries and veins? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to use black carbon, even though I'm very good with black carbon. It's just the particle size is too small and it can catch and run right up a capillary. I'm going to use an iron oxide. Now, if I stretched her and I didn't see any visible capillaries and veins, then most likely I'm going to use a carbon black because I'm very comfortable with carbon black. But with her, I mean, the minute my needle touched her, poof, do you know? Yeah, and poof, she just poofed up. Yeah, because it was almost like if I ran my finger over her eyelid, it would go kind of up and down because her veins and capillaries made her eyelid textured. They were that close to the surface. And some people say, well, you can't tattoo an eyelid like that. And I'm like, oh, yes, you can. Half my eyelids are like that. Of course you can. You just take precautions. I use a 5-round shader. I stick with iron oxides. I expect a little bruising. I expect more swelling. I expect more bleeding. I warn my clients so they're not scared. They know exactly what to expect. I tell them everything. I'll have them hold a mirror and I'll say, see your eyelids, see all those red capillaries, see those blue veins. Well, this just means, no big deal. You're going to heal great, but you could get a little more swollen. We might see a little more bleeding during the procedure. You could get a big old bruise. You might not. 5% of my clients with eyelids like yours do. I just warn them. So, they're not scared. I'm managing expectations. And I don't lighten my pressure. I don't slow. I just go to town. I'm focused. I just go to town. And I get that eyelid done. That eyeliner done. And, but, the young...
I will be honest with you.
Yeah.
And the of this podcast, I used to be one of those saying that eyeliner shouldn't bleed. However, in the last few years, I have corrected my narrative in the sense that obviously there will be bleeding, because the moment you pierce human skin, there will be some degree of, if not bleeding, lymphatic fluid, fluids ooze.
Right.
I realize that there are certain areas which are more prone to bleeding, more prone to bruising. So it's about acknowledging that and learning which are the areas that, where you have to err on the side of caution, or maybe, like you said, adjust your technique, use a larger needle. And I also, that's what I teach my students. But obviously, if you get a hematoma, which is quite a nasty bruise, I wouldn't personally continue through that, because because also the heal result will be compromised. So I would finish, but in a lighter way probably, or in a different way, and then carry on the next session, now knowing what happened to that client.
Right.
I can be a little bit more cautious. So I have changed the narrative. But to say, or to continuously post, I don't know your opinion on this, but about coffee drinking and how heavily that affects bleeding. Is it really just that? Or is it a lack of understanding your technique? And if you apply the same technique all the time, with the same type of needle all the time, with the same machine all the time, if you don't understand the differences between these and different skin types, then of course you're going to get that.
Yeah.
But personally, I have had clients walk in with a coffee in their hand, walk in with a Red Bull in their hand, and I was still able to tattoo without a lot of issues. So
me as well.
I know for a fact that you can go and have a body tattoo and you're pissed drunk, or perhaps even high sometimes, and everything heals perfectly fine. So.
Yeah. I think for the most part, the majority of the time, it's the skin that dictates the type of reaction. Is that skin really highly reactive, or is it not? And most of the time, eyelid skin is not highly reactive. But every now and then, I'll get a client where their eyelid skin is immediately and highly reactive. And it's nothing I did wrong. Now, what I tell artists that are learning eyeliner or a year into eyeliner, if you're getting major swelling, major bleeding and bruising every eyeliner, or often, more often than not, then it's your technique.
Exactly.
There's something with your technique. Either you're going too heavy-handed, you're doing too many passes, you're overworking the skin, bad stretch, something. But
choosing the tools.
Yes. Because you shouldn't have that often. But if every now and then you have an eyeliner that bleeds like crazy, bruises or gets really, really red and gets really swollen, that's normal. You're going to encounter clients that have eyelid skin that is immediately and highly reactive to the eyeliner procedure. You just are. I've done almost 6,000 eyeliners. And so I kind of know, so you're just going to have that every now and then. And I'm somebody who will post an eyeliner right after that got really swollen, even some bruising, and bled a lot. And I'll put right at the top of the caption, I'm aware that this is, she's bruised. Yeah, because I don't want people to, I don't want them to think I'm not aware. Yeah, I'm aware. You don't need to school me and tell me she's bruised and tell me that I'm doing something wrong. I'm well aware she bruised. And then I'll put in there, this is about 5% of my clients. I do a lot of eyeliners, and this is about 5% of my clients that will get this reactive reaction. Yeah.
And maybe it's also, from an artist perspective, you need to consider the fact that not all eyelids can deal with a super soft shaded eyeliner, which requires a lot of time and dedication with a single needle, to create that super eyeshadowy effect. They go on and on and on and layer it for an hour and a half to even 2 hours sometimes. And some skin types cannot take that.
Cannot take
so
that.
make
Yeah.
the right choices for the right clients. Obviously, it's our responsibility to guide them to what's most suitable for them.
Yeah, and you can get that same look or very similar to that same look using a 5-round shader. Just dilute your black way, way, way down, right? You dilute black. Yeah. If you dilute black, like I'll use blacks. I always do straight black in the lash line. I never dilute for the lash line. But sometimes above the lash line, my client doesn't want black. They want smoky or soft and shaded. But I don't use a 1 on eyelids. I don't prefer it. So I stay with my 5 shader, but I'll use like 25% black pigment, 70, 80% dilution solution in a big ink cap. And that will give you, when it heals, that will give you that soft, smoky, powdery look. It doesn't look as pretty, fresh as it does with the single, but I'm not going for it's not the fresh result or the fresh picture that I'm chasing. And that's important to me. It's the healed result and the long-term aged result that I'm obsessed with. I could give a shit what it looks like fresh. I'm not obsessed with that. I warn my clients if they're going to look a little swollen. I'm obsessed with the aged and much more, I'm obsessed with the healed and much more obsessed with the aged. That's my obsession. And if I can get those 2 healed results, the fresh healed and the aged healed, to meet my standards of excellence, then I'm doing right by my clients. I'm doing my job. I'm the artist that I set out to become. And I've done that. Not that there's not room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. I'm always trying to level up and get better and better and better. But too many people are just obsessed with the fresh. And what's it look like fresh?
That's all they post, because human skin can be unpredictable. It will have flaws. It will have keratosis pillars in the eyebrows. Lips will have very dry patches which bleed, by the way. Lips are super, super vascular, especially if you encounter a naturally reddish lip. It looks that red because it is incredibly vascular.
Vascular, yeah.
The capillaries are really close to the surface, so you can see all of that. And eyeliner, we have to accept the fact that it is a very, very sensitive area. And perhaps even manage clients' expectations. One of my biggest issues with shaded eyeliner nowadays is that a lot of artists have started using browns that are designed for eyebrows on eyelids.
I already spent my 3, 4 years, 5 years playing with browns in my career, and that's a trend. That's going to be a trend, and it's not going to last, because browns don't last, and they're not meant for the eyeliner.
It's not exactly, but it's not just that. They are packing in a lot of titanium dioxide on the eyelid.
Yeah.
And titanium dioxide on the eyelid will never come out unless you do chemical removal, countless chemical removals. And it occupies a lot of room. So the eyelid is already the thinnest skin on our body. And you occupy a lot of room with titanium dioxide, and then you get what?
I know. I saw a post, Alex, and it was like a medium brown, right? So let me put in terms. Okay, it would be similar to like anybody that has used like L.I.'s hazelnut or Monica's, what's her midtone? Faux brown?
Faux brown, yes.
Faux brown. Okay, similar to that tone. Okay, neutral, looked to be neutral. And they used that. And what, And I can look at it and go, that is all going to fall out. It's not going to show up. And she's going to redo this. But she won't come back on and state that. Look, it didn't settle in the skin. It all fell out or whatever. But she probably got 200-300 comments on how beautiful it was. And that post just went, and I'm thinking, oh my God. We've already done the browns, the medium browns with eyeliners years and years and years ago. They don't work. They're not meant for an eyeliner. And there's a reason a brown has to be a certain depth of darkness, for the eyeliner area. So yes, I see that becoming a trend, and it's going to be a trend that leave clients very, very, very dissatisfied.
And it's also problematic for us from the removal perspective.
Mm-hmm.
On other part of our industry, where a lot of us are going heavily into removal now, and it is becoming a problem. To this morning, I removed an eyeliner, which thankfully went really well. She was really lucky. It was a shaded eyeliner, and there was nothing wrong with it. She just didn't want it anymore. She just didn't like it anymore. She said she feels it's a little bit too heavy for her. Although, I repeat, it was a very reasonable eyeliner. The shape was nice. It was a soft kind of shaded effect. Yes, it had gone a little bit grayish, a little bit silvery, but you'll get that as it starts to fade, because anything with carbon will have that tendency. But having lasered similar eyeliners in the past, they also contain, if they use these browns or these orange color correctors, they also leave behind a lot of yellow, a lot of orange, and titanium dioxide.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that our industry needs to become educated on.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So you have organic eyebrows, brow colors, right? And then they came out, some artist series under certain brands came out with also correctors that were organic. And so now I'm sitting watching an eyebrow that went gray be color corrected, and it
with more orange.
I mean bright neon red, like a red orange, bright neon. I mean, like you got to put your sunglasses on. This is a bright neon, strong orange red, and shown a video of them tattooing that bright orange red into.
And it magically transforms the brow into brown. Oh wow!
Yes. But don't they understand how strong that?
They don't.
They don't understand that. Okay, it might heal brown and be brown for a moment in time, but then, depending on the CI numbers, depending on how that red was made, you're going to see red now. It's going to turn red, or it's going to turn back to the gray, just depending.
It will, well, absolutely. And it depends.
Or purple, or purple.
Or purple, because if it looks pretty blackish and you're adding a lot of red in there, like I know some people do for eyeliner, they will add a red, correct, black, but red with black makes purple, so that makes absolutely no sense. But they really don't understand pigmentology, and I think this is one of the hottest topic at the moment. This is what I'm speaking about at a lot of conferences. I'm doing a lot of webinars on it, Zooms and podcasts and everything, because there is very little knowledge on it.
Yeah.
But also people find it overwhelming. There are some people who explain it really well, but they are a little bit too scientific for our own good.
Yeah.
So you need to find a way to translate it into simple, understandable, relatable English. But coming back to your question, it is making our job as from the removal perspective incredibly hard. And what people don't understand is that different pigments have different densities, and based on that, and you know, it's not necessarily correlated, it's not gravity, but it's what our body tends to be able to do with it. Does it pull it deeper? Does that pigment have a certain magnetism called flocculation? Does it huddle and group together in patches? And what they don't understand is that that gray will still end up looking gray over, let's say, 4 to 5 months later. Maybe a softer gray, but a gray nonetheless.
Yes.
And again, as we were mentioning earlier, it's called bullshitology.
Bullshitology. Yes.
Yes, which comes from, it stems from a lack of knowledge and understanding.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's why you don't see a lot of healed results. That's why you don't see a lot of results a year out, 2 years out. You just don't, but I think clients, the public are getting smarter. They're asking for healed results. I mean, when people email us, we tell them, if they're in another state, can you refer a permanent makeup artist in another state? I just tell them, I'll give them a few names. I'll say, make sure you look at their portfolio, and you want to make sure you're looking at healed work that's healed.
Yeah.
And in their portfolio, they should also have work that are, a year old, 2 years old, because these clients come back for refreshes in a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. And that artist should be taking a picture of what that brow looks like 2 years later, 3 years later. Now, I think so. That's how I got a lot of pictures of my eyebrows and my eyeliner and my lips 2 years old, 3 years old, because they're coming back for refreshes. And before I do anything, clean their makeup off, I take a picture of what that brow looks like at 2 years, 3 years old.
Yes.
And,
I was mentioned today with a client, a prospective client, and I showed her the majority of aged results.
Yes.
This is how hair strokes tends to fade away. This is the pluses and the minuses of hair strokes, because every little style has its own quirks, and every little, this is how a powder brows fades. And no, it still carries the stigma of looking really harsh and really solid, but it really comes down to how people physically do it. Because you can make it bold if you like it bold, or you can make it soft if you like it soft.
Right.
But it also, like you mentioned earlier, it is very obvious that people don't have knowledge on pigments and the ingredients, not necessarily the brands, the ingredients, the specific ingredients in a formula. Like, can I show another photo?
Yes, please do. We like your
For
photos.
example.
This is going to make everybody have to go to, everybody who's streaming, they're all going to have to go to YouTube now.
Yes, good. Go to YouTube.
I mean, look at these pictures. Yeah, because these are really great examples. So that's before laser, freshly lasered, and then.
And this is healed after. Oh, sorry. What did I do? Laser. Now, there was nothing wrong with the color, but the tattoo had been overlined only on half of the lip.
Yeah, you see that.
And the client didn't like that. So what this color mix that was used left behind after laser was a lot of titanium dioxide.
You can see it. It looks milky.
And a lot of yellow.
Yeah, you can see it.
It looks more yellow. It actually looks more yellow in my photo than on the screen. So it's actually more
yellow. Yeah. Now that you brought it closer, you can see the yellow, you can see the titanium. Yeah. But even in the top lip right here where you didn't laser, you can see that that's titanium. Like you and I have a trained eye. We can look at healed work and I can tell if it's an iron oxide black or a carbon black. I can just tell I can just tell. And looking at that lip, you and I, and there's other artists too that have very trained eyes. You can see the titanium, especially in that top lip through the middle. You can see it's got that milky. Not that it's not attractive at this moment, but as that continues to age, it's going to become less and less attractive. It's going to, and that titanium's going to possibly overpower the other colorants. Yeah.
Possibly look really fake and plastic.
Yes, exactly.
In the photo, on your screen, it doesn't look as bad as it actually does on my phone, because you can see the titanium dioxide almost sitting on the surface. It's like you wear a white lipstick you go and you put on a white, chalky kind of lipstick, milky, on top of your lips, and it will look like that. And it comes from the fact that artists carry on using colors like these that not that they're not necessarily wrong, but they need to be used in a certain way. You need to dilute, you need to know when to stop, and you're just packing in loads of pigments and ingredients that you don't really understand how they age, how they behave in the skin, what they do long term.
Right.
Or if we are still on the lip topic, can we discuss a little bit of these browns as well?
Yes.
Browns. It is the hottest topic trend at the moment to do the ombre lips with brown.
Mm-hmm.
But artists,
I see that look. Art. I know you've got something to say about it, Alex.
I do have something to say about it because they don't understand how these browns work.
Right.
They are either made to look earthy because they're heavy on iron oxides, or they are made to look brown because they contain carbon black.
Right.
Or they are using eyebrow pigments designed for eyebrows, but to create the brown effect on the lips. And you're just creating a time bomb. Why haven't we learned from the eyebrows mistakes and errors we have done over the years with organics and carbon black and oversaturating and the gray results? Why don't we know already that that will become ashy and cool and potentially grayish over time? Or that it will start looking like this?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it's going to look like. That's exactly what it's going to look like. And do you know this information was out there, I would say, about 19 years ago. I went to a national tattoo convention, and there was an artist there who tattooed lips. Great work on lips. And she was using lots of browns 10 years prior. And it was the first time that I saw a lecture where an artist was showing her bad work. And it was astonishing to me. But it was slide after slide. She probably had 15 to 20 aged lips that looked just like the one you showed me, some worse, looked worse. And it was her own work. And she was on a mission to teach the PMU industry. Yes, yeah. It looked like, yes, a lot of the pictures were like that, some even darker. And it was because she was using browns and lip pigments that had carbon black in it. It was amazing. So this information was out there, and this education to prevent this was out there 20 years ago. And fast forward 20 years, you have people like you and others putting this information out there. Yet again, or continuously for 20 years, this information's been out there. But the industry doesn't learn. Some artists do learn. Some artists get it, but some artists, they don't get it.
What frustrates me the most is that you have really big names. Obviously, I'm not going to name them. Really big. Like I'm talking about top when it comes to popularity. And they are incredible artists themselves. They didn't become that popular because they're bad artists. They are incredible artists. And it seems to work for them. A certain technique or a certain methodology, choosing certain pigments or colors, seems to work for them and their way of doing things.
Yes.
But I have tested the hand pressure of certain these popular artists, and they work incredibly light. And we carry, when you're so big and everybody listens to every little word you say, you carry the responsibility of teaching the right thing. Just because you do something in your studio that works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for the mass majority.
Right,
We
right.
need to think about our audience.
Yeah, yeah.
Working with anything that contains carbon black on the lips requires an extremely high degree of skill, because
Yes.
lip tissue is so thin, it is so easily penetrable, that the slightest mistake, the slightest little variable hand pressure,
Oh, yes.
where you just go a little bit heavier than you intended it, and you end up with patches like
Yes.
those.
Yes.
Because carbon black has that tendency. Or look how it had
Yes. Yeah.
here.
Yep.
And it looks brown, really dark in that corner, and there on the Cupid's bow as well.
And the Cupid's bow is not even done well. The shape of the
No.
Cupid's bow, it's all wide. It's not even done well. Well, I think there are artists. This is why there's nothing absolute when it comes to procedural stuff, right?
No.
Because there are artists that I think stand out, and they are unique. They specialize in a technique that very few artists will ever be able to learn and execute at the same excellence that particular artist is executing at. And they're almost an anomaly, right?
Yeah.
And 95% of the artists in the industry will never be able to execute it the way that artist does. It's such a niche and a specialty. And and so they have to teach, they have to teach in that way. If they, should they not be teaching or showing their amazing skill? No, they should be able to do that. They worked really hard to master it. But along with that, they have to be really responsible in the way they teach it, and convey that most artists will struggle with this.
And be able to be versatile and understand that the people you're teaching are all different and unique. And some people have short fingers, some people have long fingers, some people have naturally a very heavy hand, some people don't. So you need to find the right tools to put in their hands so that it makes sense to them. You need to teach them what to pay attention to the vibration. Are you in the skin? I don't know. Focus. Can you feel the needle? I don't know. Because they've never been taught that, what to focus on in their tattoo. They don't, it's not ingrained in them. But we also carry this moral responsibility, in my opinion, this is my opinion, that the bigger you are and the louder you get, the more versatile you need to be. And also maybe state that this works for me as a disclaimer. This works for me. It does not mean that if you reproduce this or try to reproduce it, you know how they say, do not do this at home.
Yeah. It's almost like we should have
works on certain occasions and for certain people.
I think we should have to take the same oath as doctors. Not that I'm comparing us to doctors, but they have to take the oath, I will do no harm. As PMU artists, we need to take that oath, I will do no harm. And because, we're seeing a lot of harm being done. I mean, for Pete's sake, they're still, doing titanium under the eyes for dark circles.
Oh my God.
They're still doing the white strip above eyeliner as a highlight color. They're still doing titanium, in the middle of the bottom lip for that highlight pouty lip look. I mean, titanium is still being misused in so many ways by so many artists that don't understand it and don't understand how to work with titanium, and who it's okay to work on and who,
it's necessary, but it's necessary only to some degree. And a lot of colors, say if we compare these ones, a lot of colors contain too much titanium dioxide.
Oh yeah, you can see it.
The milkier and white, the lighter it looks, the more titanium dioxide it will have, versus this one, which contains a little bit more pure hue, more pure pigment, meaning red. Yes, it still has quite a lot of titanium dioxide, but between these, I would choose to work with that. So
Yes.
I choose the lesser evil, let's say.
Right, right.
And I dilute and I work light. And I realize it only works for a specific client, the client that has really pale, almost whitish lips, because it's such a light color, you're only going to see it on clients like that.
Yeah. No, understood. Understood. All right.
But it's a really broad topic too.
It is a broad topic. I know.
Yes. Yes.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say about the ombre lip trend before we move on?
I think it's going to make our laser industry more popular. We're going to make more money in the next 2 to 3 years. It's sad that we have to reteach ourselves again by doing mistakes. But yeah, I suppose all we can do is be louder and keep speaking about it, and then more people will understand it, hopefully. If not, laser is the way.
Yes, laser is the way. You would, okay. So one last thing. I think about this all the time. Like all these artists doing these trends, and we know they're not healing good for a lot of these artists, you know, or aging well. They've got to be seeing this when they're in their private studio. No, they're not filming, you know, it's just them and the client, and they're seeing the healed result or the aged result. They've got to be seeing that these trends are not aging well most of the time. At that point, do you think they stop doing the trend and they start, you know, they get on the truth train, or do they just keep doing it because it's popular? Their classes are selling out. Their online classes selling. It gets them on stages around the world. I mean, I don't know, Alex. I would think
it will continue just as much as other styles has continued for many years, coming back to microblading. It's because people invest too much in it. They invest their whole business, their whole livelihood, and they can't all of a sudden come and say, well, no, actually, I've completely changed and it doesn't work. And you know what I said 3 or 5 years ago? Yeah, I really cocked it up. No, they're probably going to find another trend to fall back to that will keep popularity up there.
Right. You know,
perhaps it works for them. But we're not seeing that in the removal world. We're seeing a lot of botched results, and it comes with repercussions.
Well, and what's not helping, I think, and I had an interesting conversation about a month ago with someone who went to a conference, a big conference, and she just stopped going. Like after day 2, she just stopped going. Because I think what's happening a lot is a lot of these artists that are gaining very quick popularity because they're either pro artists, they're doing these trends, they're doing a lot of they're getting popular for a lot of these things, these techniques that these trendy techniques that we're talking about. And that's what's on stage at these conferences. And so this colleague of mine, I asked her how the conference was. She goes, I stopped going after like a day and a half. She goes, I couldn't handle what is being taught. She goes, and it was a big conference, Teryn, but it was speaker after speaker after speaker. They're just doing all this shit, teaching all this shit that's wrong. She goes, and I know it's wrong. And a lot of people know it's wrong, yet they're on stage teaching this stuff and they're getting big applause for it. She goes, it just made me sick. And she's like, I'm done going to conferences. And I said, well, not all conferences are like that. Not all conferences are like that. You know, there's different quality and levels of conferences. So don't lump all conferences into one,
I mean, they need to make money at the end of the day. A conference can't keep going at a loss year after year. They need to make money at the end of the day. Yes, some artists pay to be there to speak or to do a demonstration, but I also think they should be really vetting them.
Yes.
You shouldn't just take money from anyone who puts their hand up and say, I want to pay and I want to speak. You should really vet them first and understand, is it going to be beneficial for my audience?
Right.
Yes, everybody deserves to have something to say. And I believe we're more or less the same names going to conferences. And maybe it gets boring at one point because, you know,
Well, you can tell who's paying to be on stage. Because like what you just said, a lot of it, it's like the same names over and over and over and over at every single conference you go to. I just had this conversation with someone on the podcast too. You know, me and Carla were talking about this. And she's like, it's obvious who's paying to be on stage. And she asked me if I would ever pay to be on stage. I said, no, I never have, and I never would. But I'm not spamming when I get on stage. I'm not trying to sell you a bottle of LI Pigments or a bottle of my new MG. Like I don't put those products. I mean, I tell you what products I use because the audience wants to know, what needle did you use? What pigment did you use? What color? I mean, they want to know this stuff when they see a really good healed result. But my lectures are education. They're education. I get up and I fucking teach, man. I teach.
Like we said in the first episode, critical thinking, that's what we teach. We teach you how to think.
Yes.
And to be versatile, because you need to know all of this.
Yes, you're a great lecturer. I've seen you twice now live, and I love to listen to you lecture. You're great. You're great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
People don't always agree with me, but that's okay. And
but that's okay. That's okay. We don't do this so everybody agrees with us, and that's not important. That everybody agrees with us. It's not important, you know, because not everybody is, Alex. Not everybody is.
It's not a popularity contest. It's not. For me, it's about speaking my truth and my opinion based on facts, experience, learning the hard way, like you. And sure, maybe some people listening even to this podcast might think, oh my God, these two, they're so dark and gloomy and how the industry is all wrong. No, we're talking about truth that people don't want to speak about. Because yes, there are beautiful things about our industry as well. How it's elevated, how it's now on this big surge of this quest of learning more and more and more and, you know, getting into the science of things. And finally, we're there at that point where people are listening to things like this.
Yes.
I feel like
yeah.
This.
I don't see what we're talking about as doom and gloom. Not at all. I think it's I just think it's insight and educational, and it needs to be. They're important topics, you know. And then the listeners, anybody listening to this, they absorb. They hear what you say. They hear what I say. They absorb it, and they may take bits and pieces from it and apply it. Go research. Some people
maybe even make them think more about what
make them think more, and some people listening to it might be like, I like Teryn and Alex, but I don't agree. I'm gonna keep doing what I do.
You're not always going to agree with everyone, and that's absolutely fine. And as we said, this is in our opinions.
And it's good to hear different opinions. It's good to hear different opinions. I think people have gotten to the point where they want to be fed and not informed. And I think it's important to be informed. And then you decide. So listen to other skilled artists speak that have different points of view than you, Alex, or myself. I think that's incredibly important. And that artists do that. They don't just listen to one. They don't just listen to you, Alex, or just listen to me and take hang on to every word you say or what I think it's important that they listen to other artists. That's what develops their critical thinking. Listening to different points of views and whatnot.
Listen to me and my beautiful voice because I can talk on and on. I never stop. So what would you like? What do you want from this industry in 2026?
In 2026, I want... Boy, that's a big question. I want artists to be happier and to feel more secure. I think to accomplish I think to accomplish that, I think they need to get back to fundamentals and more classic looks, classic style eyebrows, the classic style eyeliner, the classic style lip and areola, and learn the fundamentals and learn how to execute that classic style on all areas first, and get really good at it. And then and by all means, I don't want anybody to be constrained or restricted by the fundamentals. I just want them to learn the fundamentals and learn the classic styles first, and then go fly off and learn that trend. Try this trend. Try this new way of doing that needle or that hand movement. That's what I want for 2026. I want the artists to get back to fundamentals, the classic style, getting really good at that, getting back to education, and
I suppose part of the industry is chasing the trends because it's bringing in more clients. Because I feel the market does feel insecure right now for a lot of permanent makeup artists, those that are not fully established yet. In the last couple of years, and I'm not ashamed to say this because I feel it's the general kind of status out there. I have survived from a client perspective. I have survived from a lot of returns because I have a very stable client base, obviously doing it for so many years. But if you've just entered the industry in the last 2 to 3 years, you're not going to have that turnaround as often.
Yeah.
And if you're only relying on new clients, then of course they're chasing the trends because they feel that's what's going to bring more business. And it is scary, but this industry has always had ups and downs. It's always comes and goes. You've seen it more than we have.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Been in this industry for far longer.
2008. You know that whole period. 2008, 2009, 10, 11. You know, with the big housing and market crash.
People didn't have money.
Oh no, it was a horrible time for permanent makeup. But I ended up being okay because I had I had a huge clientele by that point. And I didn't necessarily need new clients. I was still getting some new clients, don't get me wrong, but a big majority of my clientele were returning loyal clients. So I was okay.
But if you don't have that, what do you do? Should they chase the trends, or should they maybe perhaps expand to other avenues that will, it will add more, like, let's say, I don't know, a lot of permanent makeup artists are now going into fine line tattooing, or maybe micro needling, because it's quite approachable, and you do it all with the same kind of similar equipment, not the same equipment, or they're going into scar revision. Or what about broadening your horizons instead of chasing trends that, first of all, you don't understand yet, you don't have the knowledge or experience to see how that brand is behaving over time, or so on and so forth. What about what I want for 2026 for our industry is a moral compass, more ethical responsibility, taking accountability for your mistakes and admitting, I fucked it up. I'm going to help you pay for that laser. I'm going to help you remove, instead of blaming the client for work that's gone wrong due to them, blaming the client for something like that, or chasing these trends that they don't understand.
Blaming the pigment, blaming the machine. I mean, you see a lot of blame being pointed out. Blame. Yeah.
Look at your technique. Look at your level of knowledge. Do I really know what all these people are talking about? Do I really know that there's so many different types of carbon black, like we mentioned in episode 1, and how to work with them, and what does that yellow do, and what does that orange do, or how to adjust my technique, right?
Yeah. I think And a lot of artists, I don't know if it's the majority of artists, it seems like to me, but I could be wrong. It's just what it seems like looking out at the industry, like, you know, looking at Instagram, looking at Facebook. It seems the majority of artists are only doing brows. And so every time I ask, you know, I do a live, you know, eyeliner tattoo, you know, how many of you are doing eyeliner? And very few people raise their hand. So even if they just, like you said, diversified, you know, learn eyeliner, you know, about 80% of all my eyebrow clients end up getting either a lash enhancement or not some type of eyeliner. 80% of my eyebrow clients all end up getting something tattooed with their eyes.
But when artists say, but I'm really scared to offer, because no one ever asks for eyeliner. And I ask that artist, but do you ever post about it?
Yeah.
Do you ever show clients that it's possible? Do you ever have a chat with them while you're tattooing their eyebrows? Do you ever say, you know what would look really good on you? A lash liner. Don't even go for the full eyeliner yet. Maybe it sounds scary. Maybe not a lot of people wear makeup all the time. But a lash liner, a lash enhancement, or whatever you call it, can do so much. Do you ever sell it like that?
Yeah, I think I tell artists a top, and I'll say even artists, you know, because they'll look at me, is your eyeliner tattooed? I'll say, yeah. Oh my God, it's pretty. And, you know, but I think a top lash enhancement, right?
Yes.
Looks
bang on.
it just looks so effing beautiful on everyone. It looks so good. I can sell, I don't even have to sell it. I mean, I just show them before and afters. It just brings their eyes to life. You know, I mean, my older gals, I do so many women between 60 and 80 doing that top lash line, and that generation likes their bottom liner too. They're used to applying their L'Oreal or Revlon black eyeliner pencil, and they just can't see anymore. So I do a lot of classic eyeliner looks, top and bottom on between 60 and 80. I'm not kidding. And
it's because their features are fading away.
Yes.
Their eyelash down.
And
they're losing color, losing hair.
And most of them, their skin tattoos wonderfully. Most of them, they're very comfortable. The younger girls are the ones that whine and bitch about the discomfort more than the older gals, you know. And I told one of my older gals not too long ago, I was telling her how, you know, my older gals, I go, you guys don't whine or bitch. You sit there, you say, you know, she looked at me and she goes, Teryn, that's because a 20-year-old to 20 ain't lived life yet. They ain't been through the pains and ups and downs of life. She goes, look at me.
They don't know what pain is. Yes,
they don't know what pain is. But they're usually wonderful to work with. You know, and just so grateful. And they don't. I mean, of course, you want to do it perfect every time and execute perfectly. But they even come in and don't even expect perfection. Do you know? These older clients, you know, they're just lovely. They're lovely. And oh yeah, I love working on the older client. But some people will say, well, you can't do eyeliner on someone who's 70 or 80. And I'm like, bullshit. That's half that's about 60, 70% of my eyeliner clients at this point in my career. Either they're 20 years older now and they're still with me, or, you know, I'm attracting that age group because I'm pretty well known for my eyeliner work around Vegas, and you know, actually I get people from Utah, California, Arizona, the surrounding states. So I'm pretty well known for my eyeliner work in the Southwest area of the United States. So yeah, I do a lot of older gals.
Everywhere, Teryn. I think everywhere, not just there. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's not necessarily wrong getting on a trend, but think about what trend you're getting on. Yes, some trends have been really beneficial for our industry. Getting back to machine hair strokes has been really good. Now it's being exaggerated into realism taken to extreme. Okay, whatever. Hopefully that won't last long once people start to notice. But some trends have been really, really, really good. You know, transitioning from really heavy, oversaturated eyebrows to slightly softer as well.
Yes.
So all of that, fantastic. Just be mindful, pay attention to what trends you're embarking on, and maybe think about broadening your horizons, adding more services. It's not wrong for a permanent makeup artist to maybe start offering brow shaping and tinting. It goes hand in hand with your top ups. You can help your client push that top up a little bit later than they insist they want it done, because as an artist it's not there yet, but they still want to have it done. You'll get that return more often. Things like this. You can broaden your horizons and bring in more revenue like that.
Yes.
But I suppose they will see it for themselves over the next few years. What these two old dinosaurs, Teryn and Alex, were chatting about a few years ago on a podcast. I must have heard that somewhere.
I know. Well, I see good things for the industry. I've always believed in the industry. I've always believed in.
That's why you're still in it.
Yeah, I just believe in it. I think it's fascinating. It's vast. It's there's no ceiling. And like you said, when we're talking about trends, not all trends are bad or shouldn't be learned. Some trends, like you said, have elevated the industry, elevated the artist, elevated the craft. I mean, it's been so beneficial to the industry. So, yeah, we're not lumping all trends as bad to learn. And certainly artists that, specialize in trends, that's not bad either. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying at all. If they listen clearly, what we're putting out there is being responsible, learning, really learning and mastering your skills, being versatile. You must be versatile if you want to learn the different trends.
Invest in your technique first. Invest in your technique and your knowledge first before you jump on yet another trend that you don't really understand.
Yes. And I do feel that artists is going to be better off and much more grounded in skill if they learn the fundamentals first.
Yes.
Really learn those fundamentals, because I think you're going to fall back on those fundamentals. And all the trends kind of are born from the fundamentals, right? The fundamentals are the baseline, and the trends they're born from the fundamentals. They're rooted in the fundamentals. They really are. So yeah, I think you really nail down those fundamentals. You're going to be really good at learning the trends that interest you, and
totally agree.
Yeah.
And the industry will snap back to it. You will see.
I think we're going to see that start to happen this year, 2026. I really do. I think we're going to see it start to kind of come back and get a little stronger this year.
America and the current economics there.
Good Lordy.
It's a little bit wacky over there at the moment. But yes, I think, listen, the majority of my clientele I have decided to attract is mid-30s, 40s, 50s, because those are the women that feel that they really need stuff done to themselves now. They really need to improve things. They're seeing the aging process starting to kick in. And they also have extra money, because the really young generation, I feel, especially here in the UK, mostly invests in Botox, in fillers, in lashes, and nails, and maybe hair extensions. So there's an element of you choosing the right clientele and the right demographics that you feel will be more beneficial for your business. But it will definitely snap back to it, for sure.
It always does. We always do. This industry always does. It's strong, and And it's
Absolutely.
beautiful. It's beautiful. It's interesting. It's important, and it always does. So, Alex, I'm going to say goodbye to my listeners, but don't you go anywhere. But I want to thank you for taking the time out, not just last week, but today. I know you're really busy. You're a mom. You got a big practice. You teach. You're out there doing all kinds of things, and for sitting with me and having these discussions.
This is my absolute passion. So you can tell I'm really passionate about it, and I have something to say, and I'm gonna say it. And I'm blessed to say it on this podcast in particular, because as I said at the beginning, it was always a dream.
And where can people follow you? We'll put that when these episodes go live, we'll put it in the comments.
So I'm obviously on Facebook, social media, Instagram. People know me as Alex, and the Instagram account is Alex PMU Academy. I don't really have a YouTube channel. I know that's a really big thing. Maybe it's something that I should invest the time in, but it's really, like you said, it's hard to find the time to do all of that at the moment.
Yes.
And I am a permanent makeup artist, educator. I teach laser as well. I think they go hand in hand. We spoke about this in the first episode, so I'm not going to repeat. But mostly Instagram, Alex PMU Academy.
Yeah, Alex PMU Academy. I follow you. That's where I see a lot of your posts. You do a lot of posts. You speak truth on your Instagram, especially in some of these posts. I'll go, oh, Alex is riled up today.
She's back at it.
She's back at it. I love 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 it. So thank you, the industry. We are so lucky to have a woman like you, an artist like you. So thank you. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with Alex and I today. That is the truth. That's the tea, and that's the tatter effect. And so until next time, stay in pursuit of happiness and excellence.